Happy Wednesday. Today we are talking about how insane housing costs are right now, and what we can do to prepare for the future. So I have my baby as I talk to you about how you can help your babies. So I came across some pretty staggering statistics lately, um, especially as more and more of my peers I see. I don't want to say complaining because that's such a negative connotation and the concerns are valid. Um, but I guess just commenting on how expensive housing is, whether you're renting or buying. Um, a lot of other things impact that as well. So also how expensive gas is, how expensive groceries are, the fact that most cars these days are $20,000 to $40,000 instead of $5,000 that you can, roll around in a little beater. Beaters are $15,000 now. So all of these things tack on and play a greater role because yes, housing costs have increased significantly over the last few years, but so has everything else. So all of that compounds, and it's so expensive to live independently. So because of that, we're seeing more and more people living with their parents. Studies found that 1 in 3 US adults ages 18 to 34 live at home with their parents. 18 to 34, 1/3 of us. Guys, I am 31. I have 4 kids. I am in that demographic. I have lived with my parents as an adult with kids. I get it. 1/3 of us, you are not alone. Focusing on even younger. I lost that one. Where is it? 54% of people aged 18 to 25, ages 18 to 25, 54% of you guys live with your parents, right? That's more than half. That's now a majority. So, first of all, if you are one of these people, that's normal. You're not alone. Secondly, if you're one of these people, I want you to take in some of these tips, maybe talk to your parents about some of these tips as well, because they can help you more than they think they can. And if you don't have kids that old yet, maybe your kids are my kids' ages, things that you can do to plan for them in the future. Now, if you want to live in a multi-generational household, there are a lot of benefits to that. I'm not knocking it at all. But if the only reason you choose to live that way is financial, then I can help. So, first thing, which we actually did as well, a lot of people don't think about is credit, right? So, your credit score is so hard to build and so easy to ruin. But if your parent has a good credit score, they can add you as an authorized user on a credit card, and it could shoot your score up exponentially. My mom did that for me. I only had a couple years of credit history, but she added me to her longest standing credit card. Boom, I have 20 years of credit history, even though I was in my 20s. I also had really low credit utilization because that card, from being open that long, had a really high credit limit and she was not using much of it. So her good habits with credit was able to help bump my credit score up, and that helped us purchase a home. If you're ready where you can purchase, but you don't like the payment, the higher the credit score, the lower your interest rate, the lower your payment. So even if you have, I don't know, a 650, 700 credit score, it's pretty good. If you have parent, grandparent, whoever, who would be willing to add you as an authorized user sitting at an 800 or more, go ahead and ask if they wouldn't mind doing that. They don't even have to give you a card. I'm pretty sure my mom cut it up when it came in the mail to her house because I did not get a card. I just got on the account. So that's the easiest thing you can do. And if you have minor children, you can do this with them as well. They don't have to be an adult to be an authorized user on your account. I can put my 6-year-old on it. Knowing her, I won't unless I cut up the card, but I can. And that is going ahead and building their credit history so that when they do turn 18, 25, whatever age that they do want to buy, they don't have the hurdle of, okay, let's spend a year or two building my credit score. They're ready in that aspect. Now, if you struggle with your score, please don't do this because it will also lower theirs. But if you have great habits, go ahead and pass those on. Start early. In addition to just adding them, go ahead and start teaching what it looks like. A lot of us have learned the hard way, even with parents who try to teach you, that you don't have to have the nicest stuff, right? So we looked at so many apartments that were way nicer than the one we lived in last year. And we chose literally what's the cheapest one we would be bearable living in. And that's what we went with. And that's what helped us get into a home too, because we were able to get rid of some random debt, really work on getting our credit up, and a lot of different things that played a role into it. If you need a new car, do that after. Other things you can do, and I've seen some posts on this and people go back and forth on it. Whether you have a child who is an adult living with you, or you are that adult child, or your kids are younger and you're just thinking about ideas for the future, charging rent is a really good idea. I know that sounds awful. Everything's so expensive. How dare my mom charge me rent when they don't need it? Or how could I do that to my little baby? It's not. So listen. You charge them rent, make it really, really cheap, right? If your house would well, not even your house, because that's not necessarily fair, but say they could get an apartment for $1,500, $2,000 a month, but they can't afford that. Maybe charge them $500 a month or $300 a month, whatever is doable for them, because it's going to start getting them in the habit of paying that bill. And then it's not as big of a jump when they do actually get into their own home and have to pay that. It's also saving rent because they're paying you, not an apartment, which if you're paying, you might want to live by yourself, but hear me out. It's way cheaper. And then what the parent does is you put all that money into an account. And when it's built up enough, you can give it back, and that's their down payment on their house. And they've saved it. They just didn't realize they were saving it. Or, if you're an adult, just do that yourself. What you would normally spend on rent, or what you think you could spend on rent, instead of trying to find a house for $600 a month because it's not going to happen, go ahead and pay a savings account $600 a month as if you were paying rent. Because as much as you want to say you're responsible and you're saving, if you see that money in front of you and there's a concert you really want to go to, most of us these days are going to go ahead and do it. And that's just the way it is. And it's fine. But if that money is in a separate account, like a savings account at a bank that you don't normally bank at, and you don't have digital access to it, and you have to physically go in during banking hours to get money out, you probably aren't touching it. You can have it auto drafted. Then that is being put away. You don't even notice it's gone, and you're able to save easier. Other things you can do, savings accounts don't really accrue interest most of the time. If they do, they're usually pretty small amounts. So if this is more of a long-term plan, go ahead and talk to a financial advisor and figure out where you need to put that money, where it can be working for you and getting a return and building in the meantime. Things with younger kids, go ahead and get them a prepaid debit card. Start teaching them money skills. I know we harp all the time. It seems like a boomer thing to do, but about how people just have really bad spending habits. And I mean, honestly, I do too. I went and got Starbucks yesterday. When I have coffee right there on my shelf behind me, it's not hard to make coffee at home, but It seems easier and tastes better to go buy it and pay $6 when I could make it for 6 cents. But little things like that do add up. If that brings you joy, go do it. It's not enough to have a huge impact. But if you're viewing everything in your life that way, then it adds up. The shoes, the coffee, the eating out, the I'm just going to Amazon this, the paying twice as much because you're door dashing something. All of these things add up. Your 5 different streaming services, do you need all that? So start looking at things like that too, because when you do have that mortgage, like we buy 30-pound bags of rice at Costco, all right? And I'm glad that I do that, because the more money we make and we continue to do that, then we're not in a hole anymore. So do assess your spending habits. If you have littles, start teaching them the value of money. It's something that every parent thinks that they're teaching, but it doesn't always really get through to them. And as someone who worked starting age 15, I have a great work ethic. I've worked forever. But I didn't always have to use my money for bills. So learning that was a hard lesson. If you can start them young, it will help. Again, that's me talking to younger people, not to those adults that, live with their parents and you do have good habits and you're just, working on saving. But I hope these tips helped. If you have extra tips, please send me a message. I'd love to shoot those out. If you have any questions on that, let me know. Go ahead and talk to a lender early. If you think you're not buying for another 3 years, just talk to them. They don't have to pull your credit right away. But looking at what your goals are really, really helps you achieve them. And if you do find that you like being in a multi-generational household and you're just, on top of each other, there's a solution there too. Instead of focusing on you going out and buying your own house, if you and mom like living together and the house is just too small, why don't you go buy a bigger house together, sell that one? There's a lot of things that you can do. And I really, really honestly like that we're seeing more multi-generational households, because I think it's great to have that family connection. Some days I really wish I had that. I would love to put an in-law suite on my house and have my parents here all the time, but in their own space. So those things are possible if you have a love-hate relationship with your multi-generational household dynamic. There are wins for that too, but don't feel trapped. Don't feel alone. We're seeing a lot of this. And again, if you love it, let's keep it going. Let's find a way that works better. If you don't love it, let's establish a plan to go and get your goals accomplished. But it's tough out there, guys. I know, I'm with you, but I'm here if you need me, and I will see you